Would you look at that? An official Dogman poster signed by the director himself. God, what an honor. Hey gamers, Damon here. I'm in such a good mood that I decided that today is gonna be the day that I finally rank every single Cat Kid comic club and every Captain Underpants spinoff to have officially talked about everything Dogman and Captain Underpants. But you know what? Just to be nice, I thought it would be fun if I talked about some. First up, we have the Dogman 3 stories in one comic. A lot of people were asking me, Damon, you didn't talk about this one. This counts as a Dogman book? No, it does not. It's a compilation of already existing material. There's the beginning comic from the first Dogman book. Then there's the one from Dogman Unleashed. There's Dogman and the Wrath of Petey, which is included in the Captain Underpants and the Talking Toilets full color release. And Dogman and the Tongue of Justice, which is also included in the Captain Underpants full color. So yeah, this doesn't count. But I thought it'd be nice to mention. Hey gamers, post-editing Damon here. So it turns out that apparently I got the Dogman 3 stories in one book confused with this other book, Dogman, an epic novel, that was gifted to Scholastic Reading Club members. So this is different from the Dogman 3 stories in one, as it starts off with this preview comic that I've never seen before. But then it actually turns out that I'm not as the rest of this has the same stuff that are in the 3 stories in one, those being the 2 comics at the very end, and we see stuff that would later become the How to Draw segments and the preview comic at the beginning of Dogman Unleashed. So yeah, I thought I'd mention this as its own entry, but it still doesn't count as a book. Next up, we have the Dogman with Love coloring book. This doesn't really count as a book, it's a coloring book, but there's a nice little message on the front, and it's worth mentioning, but I can't color. And finally, we had the Dogman official sticker book, which is kind of like the coloring book, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had fun taking all the stickers and making little scenes with them. But yeah, that's literally it. I better not see a single soul say that I missed a book. I definitely did not. So let's get started on the ranking, shall we? And in last place, my pick for the worst Dogman and Captain Underpants book, we have Cat Kid Comic Club. I vividly remember reading this book for the first time and just not caring at all. Why would I care for the spin-off series? The main character is Little Petey. I hate him! And these first 2 books just left a really bad first impression in my mouth. So I only proceeded by the second book and then never read any of the others. Until now, I guess. I've gone in depth about my grievances of Little Petey and the frogs in the Dogman ranking, but they feel like industry plants. I don't care about any of them. And this book does not do a good job in that regard. The only character that I sort of care about is Melvin the Frog, and he's literally just a Melvin Sneedly reference. There's Flippy, and he's like a domestic dad, you know, he's taking care of his little family, and that's pretty cool, but it gets annoying when he constantly needs to learn how to be a good dad.
What? No.
But I like his little dynamic of his family, and in this book, he thinks their comics are inappropriate and violent. And the comics themselves aren't that bad. They're the main selling point of these books. They're visually appealing, and they're a nice creative outlet for Dave Pilkey, and I like that for him. I just don't think it makes the best book. There's Monster Cheese Sandwich. There's the Pedro's Dog comic starring Lego Ninjago. There's Super Fail. Super fly, super good. There's the cute fluffy Cloud of Death. There's a haiku in there somewhere. There's a comic about baby Flippy. And Little Petey and Molly make this book titled Squid Kid and Kitty Kid. And all of these are ass. The only ones that stand out for me is the introduction of Chubbs McSpider Butt. And I like the cool stop motion in the Baby Frog Squad. And then there's Melvin's Dennis the Toothbrush comic, which is the greatest thing I have ever read in my life. Also, they make a Captain Underpants reference and a freaking fart reference. Never mind. This is the best book I've ever read, ever. But pretty much the comics takes like 2/3 of the book. And most of them are just teasers for future entries, and I just don't care. Thankfully, later entries in this series get more plot, but don't be shocked when I don't have much to say about the rest of the Cat Kid Comic Club series. But at least these books are pretty funny. I like this one line, "I'm a disappointment to myself and others." That's gonna be my yearbook quote. But, yeah, I'd give this book a 6 out of 10, and I'd probably put it in D tier, alongside number 8, Cat Kid Comic Club Perspectives. And like the title suggests, my perspective on the series hasn't changed one bit. And this is probably my pick for the most forgettable book in this entire series.
Buford, you listening?
Something I should mention about the Comic Club series is that each book is a continuation of each of the kids' comic series. So on one hand, it is nice to see each kid's series evolve over time, as we get to see them grow as artists. But on the other hand, that makes each book feel more and more forgettable, as all the comics are really similar. But whatever, at least these books teach kids how to draw and stuff, and that's a great lesson to teach for the target audience. You know, kids. So despite being more forgettable, I had this ranked above the first one because at least the comics are complete. I like seeing more of Flippy's backstory. There's actually interesting lore. And once again, Chubbs McSpiderbutt is the greatest thing I probably ever laid my eyes on. And the plot's more interesting this time around, with Flippy thinking that he's a bad dad again.
Oh, Daddy, did you love me? No, he didn't.
And Melvin and the main character Naomi, who I forgot to mention before, my bad, go to a flea market, which is pretty fun to be honest, and they squash their beef that they've had with each other. Aw, that's so sweet. And she makes the Underwerewolves comic series, which features Frankenfart! You guys don't understand how much she means to me. If you don't know who Frankenfart is, then you're a fake fan. But yeah, these books are really forgettable and I don't have that much to say. This is the series you guys wanted me to talk about? Number 7, the extra chunky book So Fun. I was considering on putting this book in the honorable mentions, but it is officially made by Dave Pilkey. So you know what? I thought I'd count it. The fact that it's ranked above 2 other books is pretty embarrassing. But anyways, this is a pretty good activity book, all things considered. And for the purposes of this list, I'm counting the full color release, which combines the 2 already existing books So Fun. And not gonna lie, it kind of feels weird filling it out, like I just kind of feel bad. But whatever, it was really fun. There's word searches, mazes, and drawing tutorials. There's various crossword puzzles to test your knowledge of the Captain Underpants series. I aced that. There's the AP Brain Rot exam. I think I passed. There's even some jokes in here like knock knock. Who's there? A pile up. A pile up who? No, you're not. Don't be so hard on yourself.
For real?
What did the mama buffalo say to the baby buffalo when he went to college? Bison. If you have 50 bananas in one hand and 25 gallons of ice cream in the other hand, what would you really have? Really big hands.
I don't get it. Why is that funny?
A woman walks to a pet store and says, "Can I get a puppy for my daughter?" "Sorry, lady," says the pet store owner. "We don't do trades." What nationality are you when you go to the bathroom? European.
Nobody's laughing!
And there's this George and Harold comic about Harry Potter. And I love this, bro. 10 out of 10 masterpiece. And the highlight of the book for me was the Fill Your Own Adventure comic. So, of course, let me describe my amazing story. Once upon a time, George, Harold, and their friend Damon were busy studying about the wonders of drippy cheese when their new science teacher, Mr. Beauregard, accidentally spilled some expired prime over the toxic lunchly.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Suddenly, the pile began to morph into the giant evil lunchly. "Help!" cried KSI. "A giant evil lunchly just stepped on my lunchbox and ate up Mr. Beast." "Oh no!" cried Mr. Krupp. "The poor lunchbox!" George, Harold, and Damon tried to escape by hiding behind a Feastable. Then, Damon snapped his fingers. Soon, a zesty grin came across Mr. Krupp's face as he dropped his massive pants. Soon, Captain Underpants exploded. He got a massive plunger, and he hit the monster in his penis. "Ouchies!" cried the monster. It turned and crushed Captain Underpants on his nuts. Damon quickly mixed a little bottle of lean. "Hey Damon," said George, "where'd you get that jar of crazy stuff?" "It was right here next to this barrel of toxic slurp juice," said Damon. "Oh," said Harold, "that makes sense." Damon shook the strange mixture and threw it at the monster. "Oh God!" screamed the monster as it fell over into a massive fart.
Wait, did he just say...
Massive, dude.
Unfortunately, some of the mixture splashed on Captain Underpants' head and turned him back into Mr. Crump.
Guys, here we go. Get your team's flag and protect it like it's tots!
Holy Alvin and the Chipmunks! Shouted Mr. Crump. I bet that George and Harold and Damon are responsible for this mess. So he punished the 3 kids by making them listen to Thickabits in the janitor's closet for 420 hours. This has got to be the dumbest story we've ever been in, said George. Don't blame me, said Harold. Damon wrote it. Okay, I get it, okay? It sucked. Don't worry though, because there's a second one in here, and I promise you guys, it is a lot better. Damon is the one in the middle with the red shirt and the low taper fade. Remember that now.
Low taper fade.
Okay, maybe it's not good. One day, George, Harold, and Damon were at school when suddenly an evil, gross villain sharded through the door and roared like a ferocious ladybug. My name is Commander Shittybutt, shouted the villain. And I've come to destroy all the gyats in the world. Commander Shittybutt grabbed the table and started hitting Nick A30 in the head. We've got to stop that monster, cried George. He reached into his pants and grabbed a massive bomb and threw it at the villain. Harold found a building in his ear, so he threw that too. Finally, Damon reached into his mouth and pulled out your mom. This looks like the job for Captain Underpants, shouted Damon. Suddenly, Captain Underpants destroyed into the school. Hi, said Captain Underpants. How's your fleabag monkey face today? It doesn't make any sense, said Harold. Who cares? We've got to stop that villain. So Captain Underpants grabbed a baseball and hit Commander Shittybutt with it. Help me! Shouted George. Captain Underpants has defeated Commander Shittybutt. Let's celebrate by eating 1 billion trillion servings of Fortnite Durr Burgers and drinking 69 cups of Sprite Cranberry. That sounds delicious, said Damon. Let's just make sure to sprinkle some double chunk chocolate cookies on my food and grab a slice of pickle tar on my Costco chicken bake. I must have been on crack when I wrote this because, Jesus Christ, this is the greatest thing I've ever read. If you guys didn't like it and thought I was cringe, then I just hope you know that your opinion is completely invalid. So yeah, this activity book is pretty fun, but apparently it's also missing content from the second book Go Fun. To prove that the wiki page wasn't lying to me, I bought another waste of money. No, I don't know why this book is so big. I have no clue. But yeah, it is technically missing some stuff, mainly with a second Harry Potter comic at the very end. I really don't know why they cut it. It's probably the best part of the book. And that's kind of it. I think I got my copy from England because some kid already filled it out. Look at all this kid stuff. What an idiot. Number 6, The Adventures of Super Diaper Baby. Oh yeah, this video isn't only filled with Cat Kid Comic Club books. And I'm gonna be real, I just don't care too much for the original Super Diaper Baby. It's really short, and I only really like the novelty of how old it is. And it is the predecessor to Dogman, so there is that, being another comic made by George and Harold. And there's a flip-a-rama every chapter, and I kinda like that. But this story is heavily reliant on already existing Captain Underpants lore, and outside of some pretty funny scenes, there isn't really much to get me attached to these characters, especially the villain, which Deputy Doo-Doo, I'm sorry, is one of the weakest villains in this entire series. I don't care for his ant robot, and I don't care when he turns into a giant piece of shit and then gets wrapped up and then sent to Uranus. I'm sorry, I just don't care that much. I don't even care for Diaper Dog that much, because he's Deputy Doo-Doo's dog, and he doesn't become a good guy until like the 3rd act. I don't know, this book isn't bad or anything, but when the most fun I had reading it was the behind the scenes segment on the back, I think you're kind of doing something wrong. Or maybe it's just me, I don't know. But hey, at least this book has a better sequel. Number 5, Cat Kid Comic Club 4 Collaborations. So as you guys can see, the Cat Kid Comic Club series does get better. The last few books have a little bit more plot, less but better comics, and are overall just a little bit more enjoyable, at least for me. And there's more returning Dogman characters. And at the end of the last book, they get an offer to get one of their books published, and then making it is kind of like the main plot going forward. I bring this up because in this book, it's barely focused on, and I was kind of disappointed, as I was kind of invested. As Melvin and Naomi's crew struggles to get the book going, we just get to see a bunch of the other Frogs comics when they get interviewed by Sarah Hadoff. They're not bad and are quite enjoyable, and Flippy's still enjoyable as a father.
What's that? What's a father?
I just don't care too much. And after the first 100 pages, we finally catch up to Melvin and Naomi that have a character arc about being responsible, as Flippy has them go and repair his broken phone from the last book. But instead, they spend their entire college funds on candy. Now, normally I would be mad and make fun of them for making such a stupid decision, but then I realized I also make poor money choices. But hey, it's a nice lesson for the kiddos, and it has a really nice ending. But hey, the rest of the book ain't that bad either. I like the new Baby Flippy comic, the new Haiku's pretty cool, and the new edition of Chubb's McSpiderbutt. This time on a cool motorcycle. But there's some new comics in this book which is pretty interesting, and doesn't make the book feel as repetitive. There's Run Little Baby Run, and Mellow Cop, which is made out of live-action marshmallows. But the highlight of the book gotta be Frogzilla. It's a nice parody of Godzilla, and they make a lot of jokes about that, and it features Dogman and Chief. So that alone, despite the book feeling really unfocused, is what ultimately put this book above Super Diaper Baby for me. Number 4, Cat Kid Comic Club Influencers. As of me recording this is currently the 5th and latest entry in the Cat Kid Comic Club series, released all the way back in 2023. Damn! And this book is really on par with the previous book, but I just think it's a bit more focused. It begins with the comic club being officially over! As the frogs struggle to meet the deadline for their new book, which increases the tension in the family. So Flippy takes Naomi, if I'm saying her name wrong, I hope you know that I just don't care, to read this book about how to be an influencer, whatever that means. Now I really like how this book explores stress and burnout during the creative process. As a fellow content creator, that's pretty relatable. But here's the thing, it constantly feels undercut by Melvin, who steals the influencer book for some evil plan or something, and awkwardly placed comics that break the flow of the story, regardless of how good the comics are. Like, of course I like Chubb's McSpiderbutt. Of course I like the new Frogzilla comic. But I actually prefer the one that's actually connected to the story. That being the Two Birds comic. It's a really emotional short story, with themes that inspire Flippy to be a better dad. For the millionth time.
I knew that door had a lock on it! Everybody was trying to make me feel like I was losing my mind!
I'm going upstairs!
To a bathroom that has a lock on it!
And no one can tell me that it doesn't.
And then the rest of the book is whatever. It snows. There's a Pete Davidson cameo. And after Flippy's change of heart, he finally decides to bring back the comic club. Then a bunch of stuff that happens next, as Naomi learns what it really means to be an influencer. To be a loser like me! Then the publisher comes and extends the deadline for their book. And then it ends on a tease for Cat Kid Comic Club 6. With Melvin feeling really out of character and threatening to taking over the world.
Shut up, Melvin!
And I would be excited, but we haven't had any updates on this book since. Aw, sorry about your series that just passed away. That gets 5 big booms.
Boo! 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 Boo!
Number 3, Cat Kid Comic Club on Purpose. This is the 3rd entry in the series, and yeah, I kinda knew that this was definitely the best one. This book introduces Sarah to the series, who comes to interview all the kids who wants to get their books published. Who knew that just adding more Dogman characters would make me like the series more? Later, more Dogman cameos please! The plot revolving around all the kids trying to get their books published is some nice conflict for the story. It fits well and is better as a result. I actually cared for the kids and their comics, which are better implemented in the story. And Naomi has this great scene with Elle, a canonically non-binary character, and Wendy, who's implied to be transgender, where she apologizes for a comic that she made for having a line in it that might have seemed offensive to gender. And that's really awesome! Thank you, Dave, for your amazing representation of minority groups. The comics are just enjoyable, and they don't overstay their welcome at all. Some of the other comics that are shown are a new Super Fail, Skello Pup, a new Baby Frog Squad, and my personal favorite, Chubb's McSpiderbutt Part 2, the birth of Big Bubba Babyhead. My pronouns go by they, them, because I'll never be him. I don't know, this book is actually pretty fun. There's a running gag about low-paying jobs. Just like me, I am a broke bitch. And like I said before, I like the ending where they're gonna get their book published. However, I didn't like how much they talked about college in this book. I don't know, that's kinda something I don't want to think about right now. But overall, this is by far the best book in the comic club series, and it's still only in C tier. Number 2, Ook and Gluk Kung Fu Caveman from the Future. I like this book. I think it's pretty funny, and I've always had a little soft spot for it. It's really underrated. Oh wait, what's that? This book is controversial? Of course! Look at that! A Kanye fan talking about something problematic! In case you didn't know, back in 2020, this book was permanently pulled from shelves for having racist Asian stereotypes and, quote, containing images and tropes that perpetuate passive racism. In response, Dave apologized and ended all reprints of the book, donating all of its profits to various charities. That's right, this book is lost media! Why do I have a copy right now? Well, I spent $50. The reason why I'm even discussing this in the first place is because this is kind of a serious topic. So to give my opinion on the topic, do I think Dave Pilkey's racist? No, absolutely not. In fact, I'd argue the contrary. With the multiple positive representations of various minority groups in his books, such as including prominently black characters such as George Beard in the Super Diaper Baby, and furthermore the LGBTQ+ community, such as Harold being gay, and some characters in the Cat Kid Comic Club series. So with all that in mind, alongside his response to the book, just goes to show his accountability and is why I respect him. So no, this book wasn't made with any ill intent. But this book hasn't really aged well. Even if unintentional, I kinda get its controversy. Mainly with the designs of the characters such as Master Wong and his daughter, a byproduct of the simple art style that's made to feel like a comic by George and Harold. And some imagery in particular, yeah, looks pretty rough. Some argue even further and argue some of the racial implications of the plot. But then there's multiple people that disagree and think that this whole controversy is unwarranted. Quote, it's charming, not racist. Many people like to praise Master Wong for being a, quote, prime example of a positive portrayal of an Asian character in literature, coming across as endearing and full of wisdom. So, while there's some aspects of the controversy that are warranted, I still don't think that this book was made with any ill intent. The book just hasn't aged well. I don't know. That's just my take on the subject. I can't speak for everyone, and I'm probably not the best person to discuss this topic, you know, being a white man. So if anyone watching has a different perspective on the matter, please comment down below, and I'd love to hear what you think. So with all that aside, what did I think of the book? I still really like this book. Sure, Ook and Gluk aren't the best protagonists. They kind of just feel like great value George and Harold. And they will never compete with the icon known as Grug Crude.
We ate all the bananas.
That's impossible.
Not for cave people.
But I love the prehistoric setting, and I love all the silly adventures with all the dinosaurs and stuff. And the bizarre plot feels right at home for the type of book that this is. They time travel to a dystopian future run by the Gobbernoppers, the two villains of the book, and they're pretty enjoyable. I also love their stupid henchmen. And I like the bond that Ook and Gluk form with Master Wong as they grow up and learn Kung Fu, stereotypes aside. And I think the action in this book is also really good. And I love all the robot dinosaurs that show up later. There's also just a lot of great gags in this book, like the sign gag in particular, peak comedy. And I liked when the dinosaur threw up in Gobbernopper's mouth. Ew. And I like the climax where the Gobbernoppers literally just killed themselves. I don't know, man. I like this book. Despite how poorly it's aged, I still enjoy it. I don't know. I just really like dinosaurs. And number 1, by a landslide, is Super Diaper Baby 2, The Invasion of the Potty Snatchers. Before making this video, I knew for a fact this was gonna be number 1, but even rereading it, I was shocked on how much I love it. Reading the opening with Mr. Krupp just reminded me on how peak this book really was. And of course I have to mention, this book is the first ever appearance of Petey the Cat. And what's made even better is that this book is canon to the Dogman series. Granted, his role is pretty similar to Diaper Dog's in the original book, you know, being a pet to the main villain. But the main difference is that Petey is actually a full character, and he's more important to the story. I like his giant robot that he gets at the very end of the book. and it gets defeated by his addiction to catnip. It also helps that I just enjoyed the villain more, who gets turned into water by Petey, who then also turns him into pee.
Time to take a piss.
I love the guy's design, I like his powers, and the Grinch parody that they have in the middle of this book is really, really fun. But despite all that great stuff, my favorite part of the book has to be the arc with Super Diaper Baby's family, with his dad being insecure on his children doing everything better than him. And I like how in the ending, after having a super epic fight with
Dr. Dilbert Dinkle, Rip Van Tinkle,
they stage something with their dad just so we can feel like that he saved the day. That is just really sweet, and I love the ending of this book. This is without a doubt the best spin-off book to come out of Captain Underpants and Dogman. Also, there was a deleted Diddy joke. Dodged a bullet there, Dave.
We just hit a #1 thanks to Cardi. I went to a lot of Diddy parties.
He said he loves Diddy. He loves so
It was a joke, okay?
So that was my ranking of every single Captain Underpants and Dogman spin-off. And without further ado, here is the final completed tier list. I'm not missing anything, am I? You know what? Just to be safe, we're just gonna add some of the honorable mentions from earlier. I can't rank the Dogman musical and Cat Kid musical because I haven't seen them. There's no rips of them on YouTube. And I can't rank only the soundtracks because I think that's unfair. So it's going here. But to make up for it, I could add the 2 movie art books. Yeah, I could do that. I can add the 25th and a half anniversary edition, just a reprint of the original Captain Underpants book. Ooh, but it has a bonus Dogman comic in it. And of course I could add the Dogman movie collector's comic, my copy personally signed by the writer and director Peter Hastings.
The fuck?
There's the Captain Underpants Collector's Edition DVD. I can add that. That's a double S tier. Oh, but what about the Dogman Hot Dog card game? Oh, but how could I forget all the other millions and bajillions of stupid board games? What about the Dogman Guide to Making 3D Art Drawings?
Now look at this picture for a moment and guess what it is in the comments.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. Or the gazillion Epic Tales of Captain Underpants activity books. The only one I have is this comic collection one, which is literally just a compilation of comics that were made for the show. I can add those. And I can't forget every last bit of merchandise. But after all that, that's literally everything. That's it. Dogman season is finally over, right? And it would, if I didn't also have to talk about Big Jim Believes and the inevitable Cat Kid Comic Club 6. And at that point, I might as well rank every Dave Pilkey book ever made. So let's check my wallet and...
No! Don't worry, little Damon. DreamWorks has enough Dave Pickly animation projects to feed your whole channel for your entire life. Jared! More Dogman sequels on the double! The boy's hungry!
This is never gonna end. That's it, I'm playing Marvel Rivals! Jarvis, clip that.